Hey there, MrAlgeBraun here, back for the video of the day, and in this one we're going to be searching for the midpoint of a line segment on a coordinate graph. And before I get into that, I want to talk about submitting questions for the video of the day. If you have one that you would like me to take a look at and possibly do a video on, you can send that to joe@MrAlgeBraun.com. Also, if you don't know, I do live tutoring on Facebook. So you can, if you have a Facebook account, search for the @ at MrAlgeBraun Live, and you'll be able to find me there. I also have a website where I upload videos from my classroom, my local classroom. So there's some deep content teaching there, followed by several examples. So if you're someone looking for a little more explanation to certain types of problems, you can check out my website. And so let me go ahead and switch to my scrapbook so you can see what I'm going to look at for this particular problem. So in a problem where you're given two coordinates and you're asked to find the midpoint, you really don't have to have a graph, which I have over on the right hand side here. I'll show you what I'm going to use that for here in a second. All you need is the equation there on the second line. So x sub m, which stands for the midpoint. Subscripts, by the way, are labels. They're not mathematical. So x sub m means the x coordinate for the midpoint. Y sub m is the y coordinate for the midpoint. And that's set equal to the two x's from your given ordered pair there. And you divide that by 2. The y's, you're going to add up your two y coordinates and divide by 2 and get your answer. So in this type of problem, you're actually working two separate problems. The x's over here on this side. Let me get my pen so you can see it. There we go. So the x is on this side and the y is on that side, and you'll get an x and a y, and then you'll give your answer as an ordered pair in the middle. So I'll show you how that works. So let me back up in case this is your first video you've watched of mine. This would be, let me switch to black. This would be x sub 1 and y sub 1, because this is the first group. The left one is the x and the y is on the right. And so this is the second group. So this would be the x sub 2 and the y sub 2. So when we plug in, we need to make sure that we understand those things. So this part that I'm writing in the black, we usually don't write down. We just think of that as we fill in what we're looking at here in this equation. So let me switch back to blue, and we're going to work the x side next. So if we're looking for the midpoint, x sub m is going to be equal to x sub 1. So come up here, the first coordinate, and the x is on the left, so that would be a 4, plus the x sub 2, so the second group, and the left number, which would be 8. So we're going to add those together and divide by 2 following this equation here, okay? So the midpoint is this equation, and so we've set those equal to one another, and then we can solve this. So x sub m is going to equal 4 plus 8. We'll do it in the order that it is there. So that would be 12, and 12 divided by 2 is 6. So we do write a 6 here, okay? So now I'm going to switch over to orange, and we'll work the y side. So y sub m is going to equal the y sub 1, which is 2, plus y sub 2, which is negative 6. So I'm going to erase the negative sign, or the plus sign, and make that a minus, and make this a 6. We're going to divide that by 2. And so y sub m equals, so we're going to end up with negative 4 in the numerator here, and divided by 2 is going to give us a negative 2. And so our final coordinate is going to be a 6 for the x, and a negative 2 for the y. So this would be our answer, this right here. And normally that's where you could end, but what I wanted to do with the graph is, if you needed to check this, if you were uncertain or you just want to make sure you get it right, you can graph this. You can graph all 3 ordered pairs and see how that comes out, and use this as a check, okay? So if we take a look at 4, 2, so we'd go over 4 and up 2 and put a dot right there. And then over 8 and down 6, so over 8 and down 6 would be right here. And then our midpoint is supposed to be at 6, -2. So over 6, down 2. And when we connect these, let me switch to maybe a purple. That point should be on the line, and it should be halfway in between these two endpoints. So it's not really, I mean, I'm not measuring it. You could take out a ruler and measure it. And so this should be from here to here, should be the same length as from here to here. You could take a ruler and measure that. And again, I'm just giving you a quick way to double check this. But the thing that I would be looking for is visually, does it look like in the middle? And most importantly, is this dot on the line? If it's not on the line, you've probably made an error in your math. That's most likely what's going to happen. So real quick tutorial on how to solve this, but also how to maybe do a really quick check. And they don't necessarily teach this in the book, but that's an extra step that you can take to double check that you are doing it correctly. Okay. All right. So in the next video, I'm planning on doing something very similar to this, but we're going to find one of the endpoints instead of the midpoint. So check back tomorrow for the video of the day. All right. MrAlgeBraun signing off. Make sure you subscribe.